All right, today we're gabbing with Ryan Bailey, host of the podcast So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. Ryan has been on the podcast several times before, but he's back to help me today to do a Real Housewives franchise power ranking, which we try to do like twice a year. We do our State of the Housewives franchises, which is kind of we assess individually how they're all doing. But I think today is about sort of like individual, but also in comparison to one another. Not to pit people against each other, but I think it's interesting to kind of hear how franchises are relative to one another right now, sort of in sort of the state of that they're in. So Ryan, thanks for being here. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Let's gab. But I think this is a fool's mission because it is so hard to. Some things are obvious when you rank the housewives, but
Yeah,
also to your point, pitting women against each other. That's kind of what these shows do in a
I know.
sense. So
I
we're just
know.
doing it globally.
We're doing it globally more of like yeah, on like a show basis. Like what
Yeah.
is the health of the show? Like do people are people talking about it? Are the casts in good shape? Like that's sort of how I'm thinking about this, but I think that, as we compare notes in this episode, maybe we'll have different approaches to it. But it also feels like a good time to do it because there are as of Sunday, there'll be four airing. They'll be four airing at the same time, which is I think
Thank
this summer
God.
this summer was a dry spell, so we're eating good this fall.
Well, we are eating good, but it is insane just keeping up, not with only the amount of Bravo, but the amount of everything.
I know.
It's like, for the TLC fans or the Bachelor fans or the Netflix fans, it really is like you're more having to choose your battles. And, I'm Bravo through and through, but it is so hard. And especially when they give you those little breaks, you always risk some of the audience finding new things that they love. So it's really interesting.
I know. And like for example, like I loved the first season of Love Island UK, not Love is Blind UK, but Love is Blind season 2 UK, I couldn't do it because I just didn't have time. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do the current Love is Blind US version, but like those are like over an hour, like five times a week. It's a lot to
Well,
keep
I
up
mean,
with.
Love Island USA. I mean, that really
Yeah,
takes it out of you, and that's why Love Island Games. It was really hard to keep
I'm
up
tapping
with
out.
because
Yeah, I
they're
tapped
putting
out.
so much production and effort into it, and you're like, this looks like it's a beautiful show, but at the same time, you're doing a 5 night a week show, and that's really, really hard when Bravo starts airing more originals.
Yeah, I think the stakes of Love Island games like aren't big enough for me to like tap in
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
I
I
just
know I
couldn't.
was shocked how, I mean, but like I didn't expect it to be the same production value. And so I was like,
Hmm.
oh, wow, this is
Right.
good. It's just I don't have the time.
Totally. All right. Real Housewives power rankings, Ryan. So we're just a note at the top. We're not including Rhode Island, which has wrapped filming, but we have not gotten any other sort of announcement or premiere
Yeah.
date for that. We don't know the cast. And then Real Housewives of London, we're not including. Obviously, it's on a Bravo show that is a Hey You show, even though I am watching it and loving it. We're not including it in this eight franchise power ranking. So, as my guest, I'm going to let you go first on what's your number eight in your power ranking of Real Housewives franchises.
My number eight ranking would be, oh, this is a real tough one. I'm gonna have to say Real Housewives of New Jersey. And
Okay.
I
Okay.
know that might be controversial to some, but I think where they tapped out at a couple of now years ago, it just felt so by rote. And we were going over the same relationships between Melissa and Teresa and Joey. And you had even newcomers on there that I didn't think were given a fair shake. They would have actually done better like 10 seasons ago. But to me, it was something of like, I know exactly what to expect from this show. And also, we have still no hint. I'm sure BravoCon will provide some clarity of where they possibly could go. And so I really ran out of mileage for really getting into that show because it was just watching a sequel every season that gets progressively a little less entertaining for me personally.
Yeah, I totally get that. So I had New Jersey at seven and Roni at eight. Is Roni at seven for you?
Roni is
Okay,
at
okay,
seven for
okay.
me.
All
Roni
right, so
is
so
at
we're
seven.
flipped. So for Jersey, I put Jersey. I agree with what you're saying, absolutely. I put it above New York because it feels like in the past like month and a half, it's been gathering a little bit of steam in terms of like updates that might be happening or
We
potential
see, but
like
Gibson, that's
test
unfair.
filming.
That's unfair to see, that to me is like we need to set a rule that that should not be able to like. It's got to be what it has been right now because rumors and like, as Meredith
But
Marks would say, rumors
room
is not. We
but
can't be. That's speculation.
But to me, but I think what separates the Jersey speculation versus like the Roni speculation, because there's also been some stuff about that, people actually care about the Jersey speculation, which I don't think people really
That's a
care about the
that
Roni
is
speculation.
okay. That's
So
a
it's like,
that's a
right.
great point.
So it's less about like sort of, oh, is Teresa or Melissa going to come back for me? It's more about like people, as much as maybe they might say they aren't, they feel a lot more interested and invested in what's going to happen with Jersey versus what's going to happen with the Roni reboot, which like to me, it's the only full reboot we've ever gotten. It hasn't taken hold at all. The second season of it was worse. And I think that like what they do with that, the stakes are high for both of them, I guess. But like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel like it doesn't have any diehard fans to me, whereas Jersey has a lot of diehard fans on two sides of the aisle.
Yeah, I mean that is a great point. The Roni speculation. I mean, the earlier seasons of Roni are just so spectacular. I'm covering like the first season on my Patreon right now, and it had been so long since I had
Mm,
seen it. And the simplicity of that, and having five women, you had those core five, and that's all you needed. It was enough. It was simple. It is so funny in
yeah.
retrospect, and I think the power of those earlier seasons makes it higher up for me than Jersey. And I think there's always the hope of what Roni could be. But to your point, the speculation on Roni that actually had gotten me excited was that potentially if like Lindsay Hubbard had joined the cast. And we
Right,
know
right,
that's not
right.
true because they're doing the spinoff of In the City, which I still am living for the day that we do get somebody from a normal Bravo show like Vanderpump or
Me too.
to a
It'll
Housewives
happen
show.
eventually, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, I mean, I've watched every episode of the Roni reboot, and I've tried to give all of these ladies a shot, and there are really kind of high moments. But yeah, it's not going to compete with, if they had stuck with the old Roni cast, which was, pretty impossible, we might be having a different conversation, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I think about for, we have BravoCon in a month and I'm like, all right, what are they going to announce there, right? Like what are they going to tease? And I'm like, an announcement about Jersey finally would be
Yeah.
like such explosive news versus like, oh yeah, Roni's coming back with Aaron Sai and Jessel or whoever it's going to be and some new
Yeah.
women, like unless those new women are like people we know and love and whatever, it's just not going to hit as hard, I don't think, if we get both
No, you're
announcements.
right, and without a shadow of a doubt, we're going to be getting some form of Jersey announcement
Yeah,
at
I agree.
BravoCon. I mean, there's just no way we aren't with the amount of like ramping up we're hearing about Jersey
Hmm.
stories. So it'll be interesting, but I am curious in terms of Jersey of what these producers and production company have discovered in the ways to re-energize something. Because if they're just going to do the same exact cast that we saw a couple years ago, I mean, it'll work. It'll still get people watching it, but aren't we going to be in the same problem by the end of the season that we were last time?
Right. Yeah, and I think it's like, if the speculation is accurate that like Teresa might be kind of being pushed out, she wasn't included in the test filming allegedly. Like, what happens to those diehard Teresa fans? Did they tune into the Jersey refresh? Did they kind of abandon it sort of out of protest for Teresa? Like,
Well, I
I
keep
don't
I keep
know.
pushing the extreme rumor that Teresa's going to go to Real Housewives of Miami. Like I
Oh my
love
god.
that
I
rumor. I love that rumor.
I mean, you could listen. Like, what's keeping them in Jersey if she doesn't have the show there? The kids are out of the house. Um,
Exactly. Yeah, we've got Gia over on Next Gen NYC,
yep.
so she can move out of the house and move into the city. But yeah, I mean, it'll be really interesting to
Yeah.
see. But also thinking about Roni, it's like you invest in these characters, and that was the unfortunate thing about the casting in the first place is that we were watching them form friendships instead of actually having formed friendships. So
Yes.
we feel like we're peeking behind a curtain of established relationships. So the good news potentially is if it's a lot of the same cast, they now have actual relationships, but you're almost going to need a Scandival type level event to really have that show pop off.
Right. And you're right. I think that the end of that last season and the reunion, it pointed to that. Like these women actually at this point have cultivated that background and that history and that investment in one another. And they had a big event in the Bryn finale with the Bryn and Uba thing in the finale, but it was just like so uncomfortable and dark to watch that it wasn't something that like was gonna grasp you long term. You kind of like wanted to reject it. So I don't think
Yeah.
all hope is lost, and I do think that there's potential in there. I just think that like they haven't. Roni lost a lot of its diehard fans, and they not just lost them, they are sort of repelled from the reboot. And so
Yeah.
it's sort of like I wonder how if it's possible to even get those people back. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I mean, listen, good TV will always do that. Like
That's
we
true.
can say until we're blue in the face that like I will
That's true.
never watch an episode, but if you make good television, word of mouth usually gets around
You're right.
where they will catch up by the third or fourth episode. So as long as you make a good show, I think that's really has got to be the focus. If you make a good show, people will eventually come or they will catch up to it.
Hmm. All right, Ryan, who is your number six? We just did our seven and eight.
Okay, this is where I got to go.
It's tough.
Oh, for me, this was a real Sophie's choice between Real Housewives of Atlanta and Real Housewives of Orange County.
Okay. Okay. I,
And
I can tell you my number six where I
yeah,
went. I went with Atlanta. And
okay.
I think that Atlanta, I feel like the first time I did this, it was lower because of just the state it was in. Of like, 1 year ago, it was not in a good state. So I don't love ranking Atlanta this low because I really enjoyed this past season, but I do think it's more a reflection of it being like on the up and up and like sort of regaining its power in the sort of grand scheme of things. Like the refresh to me was very successful, but it needs some space from the Kenya situation to like have a full season outside of that that isn't weighed down by that. I think like it will continue to like regain its grasp on the culture and the zeitgeist because I think it's getting there. It's just not quite there yet. But the
Yeah.
future is exciting for it. They have some new personalities in it that I love. And I'm very intrigued by this coming season. So it's more a reflection of it being a grower right
Yeah.
now.
I was still kind of the hope or the mind of that they were going to bring Kenya back, that maybe enough water had gone under the bridge
Yeah.
and we had gotten Brit out of there, or whatever's happening with Brit Edie. So yeah, I did enjoy this season. I don't think it was like a, over the moon stellar season, but I thought there was a lot of promise. But even like I was just talking about that earlier first season of Roni, you had Bethany Frankel in there pre Bethany Frankel fame. You had somebody aspirational that we could latch onto
Right.
that we were like, oh, as an audience member, I'm kind of like a Bethany who is funny and charming and confident, but they're not where they want to be financially. And I would love to see a little bit more of that in Atlanta or a little bit of that, admittedly, because we have like, superstars. If you have Portia talking about the lifestyle that, like this is what I got out of my divorce with Simon, we know the caliber of living that all of these ladies are living or, are very close to living. And sometimes I feel like, I don't know if that's a misstep but for me personally, I always want something a little aspirational in these shows. And I know that's probably a lot of people really watch these things for the extreme wealth. But for me, I think you need one of those things, like one of those people on the up and up that the audience can latch on to.
That's a really good point. It's like I think about Monica Garcia from season four of Salt
Yeah.
Lake, and it's like
Yeah.
she was probably too much on that other sort of side of the spectrum. But like,
Yeah.
you're right that like in some of the Atlanta group, and this is kind of probably true for a lot of housewives, is like women are building a business or a brand or something, and like they're kind of acting like it's already where they want it to be instead of like
Yeah.
I'm building it to be this, this, and this. And it's like, for example, I think about Kelly and like she burst onto the show with this birthday party for her daughter where she bought her like
Oh, yeah.
17 designer purses. And I'm like, I believe that Kelly is successful in her restaurant and these waffles and stuff like that. But like she has one location. Like, do I believe it's at the point where she can like be like living the lifestyle that she
Yeah.
like maybe wants to be perceived as living? I don't know. I'm like,
Well, that's the
so
thing.
yeah,
As you get further into these shows, it's like with Lisa Barlow. It's like with dismissed. I want to see I don't want to I want to see receipts. And I mean
sure.
actual receipts. I want to see this money come out of your bank account and cuz I want to believe in the things that I'm watching. And I know this is elevated and this, I understand that it's not completely real, but I do need to believe that I also don't have to worry about you where the feds are going to come knocking down your door because you've potentially taken money from people.
Right. And that's what makes Whitney's sort of discussion of her business not working out a little bit refreshing because it is,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You like the
It,
truth will set you free. Where I was like, oh, Whitney, like you really see people warming up to Whitney in a way this season, only 3 episodes in, than they have the
mhm.
previous 5.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you committing to having Atlanta as your number six too? Is that
Yeah, you
okay?
know what? I'm
All
gonna
right.
go. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
That's the
All right.
right
So
move.
you give me five as OC for you. So tell me about why that's there.
Five is OC for me, and I think it's just it might have been ranked higher if it wasn't for this season. I watched today's Thursday and tonight's episode. I've watched tonight's episode
Hmm.
and I was extremely frustrated with it, or as Lisa Barlow would say, frustrated. I was very frustrated. And because if you're going to bring somebody like Gretchen back, you really, it's so deep lore that you have to catch people up on like 18 seasons of a show to really understand the dynamic. And I don't know if it's worth it. And sometimes when you are really investing in this old relationship, I don't know what the cost risk benefit is. And also, it just feels very confused in terms of production of to have the first
Hmm.
handful of episodes about Katie Janela. And then I'm not even like fully supportive of the Katie Janela storyline with the Kiki Monique and all of that. It's like what it was. But then you pivot, you put Katie out of the show for all intents and purposes, and you give us like a Gretchen Tamra thing, which to me, it's not as good as I think people want it to be, or like it doesn't hold water enough. And you have Shannon, who Shannon just feels like she's in full PTSD mode. And I'm not even
Right.
talking from John Jansen. I'm talking from Tamra, and that's a
Right.
normal reaction after you've been thrown under the bus so many times. But to me, it's just not all adding up, and I feel like there's a staleness that I'm so and this is unfortunate that they're on at the same time of Salt Lake City, which I feel is the opposite of stale. So if you
Absolutely.
compare those two, that's what I mean with OC. And it's like, and the Tamra thing, like I appreciate Tamra. Like you cannot deny she rules the roost at OC, but she really, for somebody that complains about people like in the show, she leaves the show every couple of episodes.
Yeah, no, I was debating on OC four or five, and I have it at five because you just convinced me to put it there. But I just yeah, I agree. It's like I've been enjoying this season in general, but if you think big picture about it, it is really disjointed. The Gretchen and Tamara stuff is based on stuff from literally 12 years ago. It's like again, I've said this before, but I would understand if they talked about some of this stuff as sort of Gretchen's entry point, but it's becoming
Yeah.
Gretchen's entire season. And like I just thought that they would have kind of come up with something current to make them
Well,
fight over, you know?
Well, think about it. Gretchen is here as a friend of, but she's
Yeah,
really now appearing almost as a full time. So
totally.
I think you also don't want the viewer to be like, well, they're really, this is helping their paycheck. I still don't know what Gretchen does on a day to day level. Like, I don't know what her life
No,
looks
no
like, except
idea.
for a couple of house scenes with Slade Smiley where they're fixing a light. I don't know what that looks like. And so if you're not going to give us that, then you're just throwing her in as a foil for Tamra. And it doesn't work in the way which I think they potentially want it to work. So to me, the OC is a very frustrating viewing experience.
Yeah, and I think that it's funny because there was the whole obviously Katie Kiki Monique whole situation focus for the first half of the season, and we really didn't get that much personal storyline development at all. And then suddenly Katie's out of the equation, and we are getting updates on Shannon and Tamra, and they're asking Gretchen about her and Slade's finances, and it's like that stuff was actually kind of interesting to me, but unfortunately the balance was off. Like we should have gotten
Yeah.
some of that in the first half of the season, and sort of it's just unbalanced and as you said disjointed and it's also tough because I do think that like overall I think the cast is like a pretty well balanced cast
Yeah.
like on paper, right? But like for some reason I don't know if it's again the production, they're just focusing on the totally wrong things or like yeah, it's a
Well,
little out of whack.
production has done Katie Janela such a favor in not having these handful of episodes with her because it's really strengthened her the audience's opinion of
Yeah, you're
her. Like
right.
we're almost like, oh, bring Katie back. It's done her a
We're
favor in a
rooting
lot
for
of
her.
ways where like we always say, if you have a bunch of women going against one person, it usually makes that one person on reality shows look better. And
Hmm.
so having her not be there has really helped her. And then you're doing this fan casting for season 20, and they're obviously not going to start from scratch because it's the 20th season. So you
No
got to
way.
like pay homage. But I'm curious at like where we're gonna land with Katie, and that at this point is my overwhelming thought when I watch this show rather than anything that's going on currently.
Yeah, and I think that the one thing that you can say that's positive about OC and react, it's at number 5, so it's not towards the bottom. For me, it's that the ratings are still clearly good. It's clearly
Yeah.
watched by a lot of people. That's why they put Miami after it. They moved its night to like have it have a strong lead in for live ratings. And secondly, it is generating conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very divisive sort of lightning rod of a show where people are like kind of we're team this, we're team that, and that is ultimately good for a franchise. Like for example, Atlanta wasn't talked about for a while, and it's back in the conversation. OC is talked about a lot, and obviously it's
Well,
airings, but it's still discussed, which is
you know that
important.
musical, The Producers, where they're like putting on the world's like worst musical, and like always wonder that if like producers are sometimes like, let's make the worst season in the world so people will complain about it and talk about it nonstop.
It
Um,
works.
yeah, you never know. But also, we see this with Salt Lake City is that Bronwyn Newport is able to verbalize arguments with Lisa
Mm.
Barlow, and Lisa, even though I love her, can't really keep up. And if you're going to let Tamra rule the roost on OC, you need a perfect foil for Tamra. And I don't believe that is Gretchen. You need somebody to be able to spit facts and really, really call somebody out almost eloquently. Well, like I feel like Bronwyn can do a little bit with Lisa. And without that, looking forward to season 20 because I don't think Tamara is going anywhere. Tamara has a lot to answer for on that show. And I don't mean like she needs to be canceled, da 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 da, but she does need to answer for the same behavior in every season. It's never changed, but nobody has been able to really call her out effectively. And I think that's what I would potentially like to see.
Yeah, it's like if her and Heather didn't have like their alliance of a friendship, Heather could potentially do that because she is an eloquent person who can be quick when she needs to be, but she doesn't want to be with Tamara right now. So
Yeah,
um,
that's it. Seems like nobody wants to fight with Tamra because they just don't
they
want
don't
the
want, yeah,
they don't want the annoyance level in their lives. And I'm like, no, you got to run towards that in these
right,
shows.
right. All right, my number 4, Ryan, is
Yeah.
Potomac.
Yeah,
Real
I
Housewives of Potomac. Is that your number 4?
that was my number 4 as
Okay,
well.
okay, great. So let's talk about Potomac. It's about to be airing this Sunday. Season 10 is premiering. It's no longer the underdog of a show. To me, like it is right up there with the best of them. I think that, it went through a several season period where it was like not fun to watch at all. The conversation was not great around it, but it feels like it's kind of fully out of that and it's rebuilt. It has some exciting new people as part of it. We have Monique coming back. Stacy is a fascinating addition to the show.
Stacy, man,
We
is
we
like
have
on
we
a different planet. I mean,
we
we did
I mean
because it,
she
it airs this Sunday. Did you watch the
yes,
first
I've watched
episode?
it. Yes, I've
I
watched
did
it.
too, and I gotta
Yeah,
say,
it's all about Stacy. It's all
I
about
was really
Stacy.
into it, but like Stacy, after like the TJ thing last season, she does have a lot to answer for, and she has a really unique way of
Yes.
coming into this season. So I was already very, very into it.
Yeah, I like the vibes are good. And it's like with Stacy, she's a good person to have at the center in the way that like you just kind of have to laugh watching her in some ways because she's gonna just continuously give you a bullshit answer or beat around the bush. Like she's not gonna be straight with you, and that's just how she is. And watching the other women try to reason with that is, I think, fascinating.
And that's great because you usually can't reason with somebody that is so entrenched in their own version
Yeah,
of the truth that is not the truth. I mean, in some ways, like I keep bringing Elisa Barlow up, but she's a character like that as well. It's like she commits to the bit. And if
right.
you commit to the bit, it's like impenetrable in some ways. And it's frustrating because you want to scratch that itch as an audience member, and they're not allowing you to get that itch scratch because they will never admit defeat. And
Never.
Stacey, I just thought at this point she would admit some things, and she doesn't. And to me, that is really interesting viewing.
I don't think she's ever going to admit anything with the TJ stuff. I think
Yeah.
that I think this is just the answer she's going with.
It's great. And then and Giselle is the reliable narrator on this show. And she usually has a good sense about things. And then the only thing with Giselle, though, even watching this premiere, you're like, God, but no fashion sense. Like, no, just even in the terms of the decor in the house. I was like looking at the furniture and I was like, this is just really interestingly put together. And so it's always great. Like, that's her little weakness for Giselle. That's just little.
And you can tell, like, she got a stylist last season and she started to dress better. That is, I think, it's her weakness, and it's also like a not insecure about it, but it hurts to hear that feedback. I think for her, I think she wants to not be perceived that way, and that's sort of her Achilles heel, I guess.
Well, listen, I mean, if you're as beautiful as Giselle and it's
Right,
just like your fashion is a little off, you're fine. Like you, I mean, you're doing amazing, sweetie, as
right,
Chris
but
Jenner would say.
yeah, and she's an amazing housewife. And the other thing about Potomac, obviously, the premiere starts out with this it's sort of nothing footage, but it's still thrilling to watch of Karen getting into the car. She's leaving prison, and like,
Amazing.
sometimes I think maybe what it takes for a Housewives franchise to be revitalized is this sort of rip from the headlines, big monumental moment. And Karen Huger going to jail for her fourth DUI is that moment for Potomac, I think. And like, if she works, she's gonna have her like resurgent rebuilding year. It's not gonna be this year, but like, even just that dangling over the show, I think is enough to bring a lot of people back into the fold and like be excited about
Yeah,
what's to come.
it was really smart of them to start the season
Mm-hmm.
with Karen. I mean, it was like, not that we should be celebrating that Karen went to prison, but it was so great to start the show that way. It was
Yeah.
so exciting. It's the same way Salt Lake a couple seasons ago started with a flash forward to the Sprinter van and Jen Shaw and then flash
Right.
back. Those moments, they really suck you right in there. But I'm still angling for a talking head behind prison glass. I'm still angling for that someday.
Ryan.
I feel like we could get it. No, why? I feel like we're so close. We are so close to getting a talking head behind glass.
Oh my God. I was about to ask you who you think that would be at some point, but I don't think we should go there. All right. Number three. Who is your number three, Ryan, in your
Okay,
power ranking?
this is when it starts getting tough, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna go risky. I'm gonna go something that might not be popular. Beverly Hills is my third.
me too. Me too.
Okay.
All right,
'Cause
tell
I
me
was
why.
like, okay, Beverly Hills is like, listen, it's legendary. It's been on this long. I always say if you were to say Old Roni was like a David Mamet play or an independent film, you could make that argument. But for Beverly Hills, it's the big budget blockbuster. It's the
Mm,
Michael Bay. It's the, and it's if Salt Lake has the religious backdrop, Beverly Hills has the glitz and glamour backdrop.
yep.
However you want to, if you want to agree with that or not. But I think Beverly Hills, you always have the hope of an explosive season where it gets really real. Like Kyle's been there since day one. And, Kyle takes a lot of flack for maybe not sharing the 360 of her life. But I also like to make the argument of like, if you watch those earlier seasons of Beverly Hills, she shared it all. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
insane how dark those earlier seasons were with her and her sister. But I'm always watching Beverly Hills in hopes of Kyle finding her way back to that place of just like, because, she did have a separation that's going to lead to divorce. She has all of these things going. If she were to give us 20% more truth, I think this show could be number two on my ranking list. I think that's all it needs is a little more real. But at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, I'm excited to see Dorit without PK, Rachel Zoe, a reality show legend that I hope brings people to the Rachel Zoe project in those earlier seasons.
Yes.
Erica Jane potentially having a boyfriend. These are things that I'm so excited for. But with Beverly Hills, usually it'll start the season and you'll pretty much know within the first three episodes. You're like, oh, okay, it's just another one of these seasons.
Right. And like, I guess I'm not as particularly bored by it as some people seem to be, I guess. Like, people think that it's a boring show at this point. I still enjoy just like the lifestyle porn of it all, and just like I like watching Kyle, even if she's not giving us a 360. I agree. You're hoping that she gets there. I think it's one of those shows that people love to complain about, but they will still always watch it. And I think that it probably has one of, I don't know if it has the biggest ratings anymore, but like, I think that probably the most people watch Beverly Hills and Salt Lake City, I'm guessing, and maybe OC. But like, it's still a very powerful franchise, and it has like a lot of huge stars on it. I mean, Kyle, Dorit, Erica, Kathy Hilton's there. Like, Sutton has been around for a long time at this point. Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of kind of heavyweight champs in this cast, and like, you can't really deny that to me, even if like they
No, I
aren't
mean,
bringing the real. And I agree, that's the one thing they're
Yeah, I mean, like, listen,
Not
it's
there
the old
yet.
stalwart that like you're always going to get a certain level out of
Right.
Beverly Hills, but the longer you're on air, the tougher it gets, even for the audience to like expect anything new. And sometimes there's a staleness in which you view these shows just because you've been with them for so long. So that's why you're always looking for something to break up the monotony, but they do have enough core friendships that when something insane pops off,
Hmm.
they do have that established. Like, but even last season, like I personally loved when we got to meet Sutton's mom. I thought that was such a
Hmm.
clue
That was
into
a great trip. Yep.
how Sutton is as a person. I was like, oh, this is really revealing in certain ways. So yeah, I mean, Beverly Hills, it's still always going to be one of the top shows. I don't ever really foresee it falling to a certain point, but it is at a point too where ever since Denise Richards, there has been stunt casting involved. They
Yeah.
have to get a bigger name to really kind of juice it up a little bit.
And I think that the truth of the matter is Beverly Hills has not hit the same since Lisa Rinna has left. And I think that, she was a shit stirrer. She was a truth teller. She got stuff activated. And I think in some ways, Sutton can do that with like bringing things up, and Garcelle would do that sometimes, but they didn't. I don't know. I guess with Sutton, she can be sort of put into submission in some way. So she's not as much of like a kind of stalwart as Rinna was. And Garcelle never really wanted to go fully there. And so
Yeah.
I do think that they need to figure out like, all right, how do we get a force in here like Rinna, if it's not going to be Rinna, because I don't think it's going to be right now, that can kind of do things the way that she did them, but I don't know who that would be or what that would look like. But
Well,
that's
yeah, I mean,
it's missing that factor for sure.
you can get Sutton emotional pretty quickly, but unfortunately, Sutton is not the best communicator. So she's not really, I mean, it's like, name them. Those scenes are iconic. But if you're looking for a full blown argument that makes sense, you're not going to usually get that at Sutton. But she is a target for all of the ladies because she is very easy
Hmm.
to pick at. Like, you can be upset with Sutton, and she takes a lot of flack from all of these ladies. So it'll be interesting to even see Sutton's journey this season until, your point with Lisa Rinna. When she first came on the scene, I loved Lisa Rinna, but by the
Yep.
time it was her
Yeah.
last
Same.
season, it was really time. And I felt like Rinna ushered in a certain dynamic on Housewives where it became takedown seasons. I think she
Yeah.
intensified the Housewives to a certain degree. And that is not fully complimentary. That I think she
No.
ushered in a certain level that I don't know if these shows have ever fully recovered from.
Yeah, I think that that's kind of reflective of how Tamra is too, in some ways too. I think that,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. All right, time for our top two, Ryan. I'm guessing that we
Oh,
probably have the same one. I mean,
yeah.
like order of it. So Miami at number two,
Yep.
right, and then Salt Lake at number
Yep.
one. All right, so
Yeah.
let's talk about Miami. I do think that like the momentum continues to build for this show. Like just the fact that they have been on the tear they've been on. Season four, five, six, and seven have all been fantastic seasons with essentially the same cast. I mean, that's kind of an unheard of run, I would say. And like the only thing against it is that it just feels like not everybody watches it for me.
Yeah, but see, and I was going to say the exact same thing, but I almost think as a viewer that's almost a positive because
Mm.
I feel like I'm into something independent, something alternative. Like I'm
Sure,
like,
sure.
look at me not watching what everybody's not watching. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is insane. They've had four really good seasons, and you could argue the beginning of Miami was really good if you go back and watch
Absolutely.
those. And so what's frustrating, it is frustrating because I'm like, wait, why isn't more people talking about Miami? And they don't release streaming numbers. So obviously it's doing good over there because they've already announced another season. But for me, even if you take all of that out of the picture, it is a solid show. I mean, and just the vibrancy, the color, the relationships. There is there's people to be upset about, there's mysteries. But at the same time, I'm not at like a disgusted level where I can sometimes get with like Tamara on the OC. Like it's
Right.
never at that point. To me, this is the closest to classic Housewives that we get.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the conversation around the show this season did to me reflect that like it's generating more buzz and more interest. Like the Gertie and Julia thing wasn't fun to talk about, but people were talking about it. And I think that, as you said, you weren't that did not take up the full season, which was really important because if that had been the full season, then I think it would have gotten to a point where like, okay, I don't know if I want to this is not as fun to watch anymore. But they kind of smartly were able to like have that exist and have that happen, but then move on from it in a lot of ways. And I think that was really important. And just like they just mix it
And
up and
you
better than
already
everybody
see the
else.
prospects for next season because Stephanie is a
Yes.
great first season housewife.
Hmm.
And, having
Divisive.
somebody this wealthy, but also obviously there's probably some mystery in her past. And usually that stuff comes up on the second season. So you see bright skies ahead because usually when you lead with wealth, that never on these shows
Right.
ends up good. And so you're investing in the future of these shows. So I really like Stephanie and I'm really excited to see where this goes. I think my question is just what cast changes are going to happen. I worry about this is what I worry. I worry about that. And I watched tonight's reunion, the first part, and
Yeah.
it was, I'm like,
We can talk
yeah,
about it. Let's
yeah,
go.
man,
Yeah. 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 I mean, the bombshell.
great, great. And, right at the end, like you want, I mean, the only frustrating thing is that they don't put all these out at once, but it
I
keeps
know.
you waiting for the
I
next
know.
week.
But
That's
it's like,
how
I
you want to
mean,
do it.
two housewives sleeping together. That is, or allegedly.
Yeah, I
I
guess
mean,
this will be out. Wait, is this out today or
yeah, yeah,
tomorrow?
yeah. No, yeah, this will be out by the time people have seen this. So it's
Okay, good. Yeah.
like I don't even know what I mean.
Yeah.
The only time that we've really done this before is Brandy and Denise, right? We've only like that's the only other instance of this claim being made, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah,
But the claim that Julia makes against Adriana is completely believable. In
yeah.
fact, when I was speculating about what the thing was, that was one of my first guesses
Mm,
was that because how do you go from the closeness that they had in their relationship in previous seasons to something that it doesn't seem to be nearly as close? That doesn't just go away. And so my thought was that there potentially was some relationship because also there were so many rumors about Julia in
hmm.
terms of her kissing other people and her being
Right.
flirty
I
with
forgot
other
about that.
people.
Yeah.
So my question though is what is Martina's thought about this?
Totally. Totally. And it's like we didn't know that their marriage was potentially maybe open in some capacity or like yeah, and you're right that like the whole thing when Julia came onto the scene with Adriana, it was like they had this like really loving friendship, but that's all it was. Then you think
Yeah.
back to like, okay, if there was some romantic stuff happening there, that colors a lot of what they've been through as friends. And I thought their whole thing this season was all about the show. But then if you factor in, them potentially sleeping together, then it becomes a way different question. And also this reveal, I don't want to say it like nabs Julia another season for sure, but like
But it
it
comes
maybe it
close
does. Maybe it
because
does.
I did say I said a couple weeks ago, you got to get Julia out of there. I'm
Me
done. I'm
too.
done.
Me too.
And
I was
I'm done,
totally done.
and the Martina comments, like even though she's not a
Yeah.
full time, like I was done. I was like, I think
Yeah.
we've come to the
I'm
end of the
good.
road. But now I'm like, wait a sec. If we get this reveal, as a producer, I would imagine there's
I
a little
know.
mileage in that we don't want to just let it go. I do think it's weird, and this might not be I think Julia is a full-on villain. I think she's a full-on villain in some ways that just handles her villainry differently than we see it usually on Housewives.
I wish she would just lean into it though. I think I would
Yeah,
I think I would enjoy her better if she leaned into that and like maybe just admitted that she wanted to be with the cool girls. You know what I mean? Or just like I just she's reticent to do that, but maybe this reveal reflects differently. Maybe she's
yeah.
ready to embrace that. So we clearly a lot going for Miami,
But
number
see,
two in our list.
this is for anybody listening or watching. This is what we're talking about. When you can have this much conversation that you're just getting excited talking about. That's what makes a show good. Is that you could hit it to any character and go, "Oh, this is what I like about this character," or "This is what really frustrates me." That to me is the exciting thing. So for me, it's a stacked cast.
And also, last thing I'll say is like I brought up Brandy and Denise. That was an entire 16 episodes of Beverly Hills was talking about that. And this is an 11th hour reveal at the end of a reunion episode that like could tee up the next season, but like season 8 wouldn't all be about that because it only really impacts two of them. So it just reflects just how much you're right, just is going on with them and like
Yeah,
it's so
yeah,
good. It's so good. All right, number one, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, the crown jewel of Bravo.
yeah. No
I mean,
brainer.
I've we all say it. Nobody's doing it like them. I mean, a fantastic 6 season run. Miami's had a fantastic 4 season run. This is a 6 season run. They're all to me. necessary pieces of this puzzle. They're all
Yeah.
stars in their own right. We have iconic moments every single week, Ryan. Like this is just
Yes. I mean,
it's
this is how
just
you do a housewife show. And I don't, but the only interesting thing about Salt Lake, and I don't know if you get this vibe, and it's not like the true Bravo heads, like all of us or you listening, we all kind of are in agreement about Salt Lake. But sometimes I do get the vibe that there is a whole other contingent that doesn't seem to understand how brilliant Salt Lake is. Or sometimes I'll get that vibe because there is a wackiness to Salt Lake
mhm.
that they do so well. Like it really does feel like a fever dream when you watch this show. And I always say
Yeah.
it's a daytime horror film. It's between like John Waters and David Lynch. There's all of these things happening, and at the same time, it can go grounded within like a snap. Like you'll have a scene between Mary and her son, and you'll or Bronwyn and her mother, and you'll immediately come back to a really grounded reality. And then they can go as insane as Lisa Barlow printing out poster boards saying dismiss. Like that is pure insanity. And you could throw the ball to any of these women. Like that's the thing. If you could throw the ball to any of these women and I could watch a solo episode with just them in their life and I would probably be satisfied still.
Totally. It's kind of like the High Low franchise. It has like it's like high kind of drama and really intense personal stories. I mean, we have the Bronwyn and her mom. That conversation was really layered and intense. And then you get the low campiness, the kind of like really kind of jokey humor. I love it. You're right. It's a wild ride that not everybody, I guess, has the appetite for. But I also think that people need to not watch Salt Lake in particular as like being completely literal and just taking everything at face value. Like you
Yeah.
have to like suspend disbelief a little bit. You have to like not take
Yes.
things so personally.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like what Lisa did was ridiculous and with the luncheon, but like it's also like an incredible Housewives moment. And like I think the fact that it didn't really complete its objective makes it even better in some ways. You know what I mean? Like she printed out these poster boards that basically told us nothing. And
Yeah.
but she still printed out the poster boards and I love that she did that. So it's
Well, I
part of
mean,
it is just yeah.
we were talking about Potomac, and I will say, like, Potomac to me, if it were written out like a play, it's like a sitcom. It's so
Yeah.
funny. Like the
It's so
way that
funny.
they speak, like it is so amazing their dialogue in terms of like you can tell the laugh lines and they're not even trying to be funny. It is just funny.
Yeah.
Salt Lake is situational. They just the backdrop and the action that takes place, that is where that comedy comes from. And they're both equally funny shows, but for very different reasons. And the other thing is like, we do this now like for part of our living and we watch these shows. And sometimes, as ridiculous as it sounds, you don't want to go to work. Like sometimes I'm like, I got to watch another episode of OC and you're not excited. Dude, as soon as I can watch
Mm.
Salt Lake, I am so thrilled. I'm almost love it so much that I wish I didn't cover it on my show because I just want it for
Right.
me. Like,
Don't you don't want to take notes on it, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
Totally. And it's
exactly.
the one that I really look forward to watching live. Like the other ones I don't need to necessarily watch live. I like watching with
Oh
people
yeah.
and Salt Lake City. It feels like event TV or the closest thing we have to it,
Well,
you
that's
know?
why I was so pissed that Dancing with the Stars and Love Island
Mm,
games were premiering on the same time as Salt Lake premiered because I felt like, oh man,
it's a
it
stacked
takes away
night.
from all of us having this communal viewing experience like
Yeah.
we really used to with reality TV.
Yeah, but yeah, Salt Lake, an undeniable number one. Like
Yeah.
if anybody listening has a different argument for what the number one Housewives franchise would be in a power ranking, I would love to hear it. You know, because
Yeah.
I
If
just feel like
somebody's like if Jersey is my number one, like I would love to hear that argument.
yeah,
That would
and
be
it's different.
amazing.
It's one thing to have your own personal favorite. That's not what we're talking about here. This is the power ranking of like this the
Yeah.
weightiness they hold in this landscape. So Ryan, this was
Well, yeah,
fun.
wait, sorry. One more thing about Salt Lake I just want to
Yeah.
mention to get your take on. The only foreseeable problem on that show
Hmm.
is that they've got to watch it with the fakeness a little bit. Like there
Mm,
are some usually now glaring staged things to me, whether it be slept in the RV on that first episode. I don't believe the Molly Sorensen thing. I was like, this just
right.
feels like pulled out of thin air. We had the finale, like that first episode, final shots of them with the cameras, like Blair Witch Project. It's fun, but just be careful of repeating that. There's enough good relationships between these women. And I do appreciate those kind of setups, but you gotta, I feel like it's walking a fine line. That's
Yeah,
the only
no,
foreseeable
I think
problem.
that's a good call out, and I think that like I always just attribute that to like it's the most like overtly camp Housewives franchise, but it can definitely toe the line to just being a little bit like cheesy or a little bit too stunty in a way
Yeah.
that like the end of the Keeping Up with the Kardashians was, where it was like how many prank calls are we gonna watch Scott and Chloe make or like things like that, and so you're right that we have to watch that because also like the little moments do a lot of heavy lifting for them. Like it's the outfits in the ridiculous scenarios, the choral music that we hear all episode, like yeah, like exactly.
Yeah.
Like
No, it's great.
that does a
It's
lot of that does a
great.
lot of heavy lifting for Salt Lake, so they don't always do these big swings that can not always work, right?
Yeah, I just feel like sometimes that you're teetering on the
Yeah,
balance of
I'm
like
with you.
sometimes losing it. But other than that, no notes. And I feel bad for even giving that note because I'm like, well, it's like, let's see what they're cooking, man. Like these producers, like, let's just let them work. And they
I have
obviously have a
faith.
way
You
that
have
this
to have
show
faith.
works, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly, exactly. Ryan, this is fun. I feel like
This went way too quick.
I know we were
Way too
very
quick.
aligned. We were very aligned in our rankings, other than a couple at the beginning. But
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, I would be curious to hear what your listeners, their rankings would be and like how
hmm
off it is, because that also is the thing that we're not counting on is like the really hardcore fans of a certain
right.
franchise
hmm
that won't accept that their show has gone lower. Like
Right.
that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, there are arguments to be made. Like if you want to put Atlanta higher up because it's like I'm good with that, but like that's just where it is for me and for you.
No, Gibson
Yeah.
told me though before we started, if you rank it differently than him, he doesn't want you to keep listening to the show. He told me
Ah.
that, you
Oh
guys. He
yeah.
said that.
This, the, okay, now we're veering into Salt Lake territory. We're making
Yeah,
shit up.
sorry guys. Sorry. My bad.
I'm
My
just
bad.
kidding. I'm just kidding. Ryan, before I let you go, last question. I feel like we haven't spoken since the
Yeah.
news of the Summer House spinoff was confirmed. How are
Mhm.
you feeling about it? Like,
Love
what are
it.
your kind of yeah,
I'm down. I mean, like, I have no complaints about this at all. I mean, some people are like, we don't need this. Don't tell me what I need. I do need this. I want to see. I mean, my question is, though, how are their lives different during the week? Like, does Kyle not send it during the week? So are we going to see a full business like Kyle Cook?
mm,
Because that was always his excuse of like, I go hard on the weekends because the work week is so stressful. I have a lot of questions about how it actually is going to work, but I trust that they have a plan in mind. Like I couldn't be more for this show.
yeah, me too. It just felt like a no-brainer, so I just wanted to make sure that you're aligned.
Yeah,
Ryan, always great chatting with you.
a
How many
delight.
how many episodes are you doing a week these days? What are some recent
Just
guests that
five,
you've had?
just a quick five, you guys.
Oh,
No, I
an
mean we
easy
we we
five.
recap Salt Lake and OC like full recaps where it'll be like line by line, like studying it like ancient texts. But
Uh-huh.
then we'll have a lot of interviews. It just depends. Like we had Samantha Stites from this great ABC docu series, "Stalking Samantha," which is one of the most insane, intense stories. I highly
Hmm.
recommend watching this on Hulu. So it's really psychotic, the show, because it'll swing from like Housewives to really like true crime to general pop culture. Like even today during the Salt Lake recap, we talked about the Keeping Up with the Kardashians season 7 trailer. It's really hard to keep up with all the pop culture there is. So it's a smattering of everything, but I'm here to talk to you. Don't worry about listening. You can if you want, but like I'm
You
just
should.
excited.
You should.
No, but no,
Yes.
but these conversations, this is what we do it for, is like
hmm
to have good conversations. And that's the exciting part of this is I love interviewing people and getting to talk to people that I really admire, or just the state of television is so good right now. And I think
hmm
we're really lucky in that sense. That's the only thing we're lucky in is our TV.
Yeah, this is our escape, but we
There's a lot
analyze our
to
escape.
escape
Yeah,
from.
exactly,
Yeah, there's a
exactly. There's a
lot.
lot to escape from, and there's a lot of places to escape too. I mean, I'm thinking about the fact that Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is going to drop its entire season 3 BravoCon weekend, which I'm like, motherfucker.
I mean,
Also,
isn't that
stop
that
stop
feels
dropping
like
that show. Stop dropping that show all at once. We need
exactly.
we
But
need the first 3 episodes and then week to week. That's what it should
I'm
be.
telling you, Hulu, that feels like war. That feels like a sign of war. If you dropped that show on the weekend of BravoCon,
Yeah,
that
that's
to
not.
me says they're going for all like, oh, this is alternative programming for all the people that
Hmm.
stayed behind. That to me is so shady in so many ways. Where if I was like the president of Bravo or NBC Universal, I would ask them to step off, like just out of respect for the overall fans that watch both. I was livid when I found that out.
I know, and I think it's intentional as well. And I'll be there, so I'm like I don't know if I'll be able to watch it until that next week. So
Why even put that pressure on ourselves? Like, I'm not going to watch it. Like, no
yeah, good
way.
for you, good for you.
Good.
I'm like how do I watch it at midnight when I get back to my hotel room?
It would be funny at BravoCon panels, everybody has their phone out streaming Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Listen, Ryan, this is so much fun, and
So
we'll
much
do it
fun,
again
dude.
soon. I'm sure. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Bye, guys.
I want to gab.